Thelema, the spiritual philosophy of Aleister Crowley, perhaps the most infamous occultist of the 20th century. Crowley's work and influence extend far beyond the esoteric, seeping into popular culture and apparently the wardrobes of influential figures. He was also reportedly the man who was tapped by the Freemasonry to refine the honorary degree, or the 33rd degree, which legend tells is the degree where they finally teach you that Lucifer is the god of the lodge. To dismiss this as mere fashion and something that celebrities do in order to get attention, or a phase that entertainers go through, or something that people can play with all of the devout Satanists worldwide who would certainly protest. To dismiss those things is to ignore the deliberate messaging often encoded in celebrity choices. And ain't the devil happy if you do that? The accusations against Jay-Z and his wife Beyonce go beyond mere speculation. Numerous claims and legal motions have alleged their involvement in witchcraft and other occult practices. Of course, those who make these claims are always dismissed as crazy or as jaded and attempting to discredit or besmirch the reputation of these wonderful philanthropists. While some might be quick to dismiss these people and their claims as baseless, the sheer volume of witness accounts and the circumstantial evidence warrant more than a cursory glance from the critical thinker. Consider how the legal system can be manipulated in such cases. A common tactic, historically documented, involves introducing false witnesses to a case, not by the accuser, but by the accused. The false witnesses that the accused set up to publicize that the accused has done something to them, these false witnesses are later exposed. But that's the plan in the first place. That's why the accused pays them or their families to come forward and allow for themselves to first go through the embarrassment of claiming to have been a victim of some very heinous acts, and then second, to go through the embarrassment of then saying, well, I lied.
Of things in the sky, and not just in the skies, but also in the waters as well. And it comes at an interesting time that we had Congress saying how there could be UFOs and aliens in the water. And now, again, it seems like we are seeing a lot of video footage of bizarre things happening in the waters. Some people are just very, very excited that the government are talking about UFOs and aliens. But like I said, exercise extreme caution, because we could be looking at a great deception between AI, holograms, and so forth, and we don't know what other technologies that the government has. And remember, there was that second moon that is supposedly orbiting the Earth, and we don't know if that's some kind of technology as well that produces holograms. Supposedly, at the exact same time, we are engaging in this major conflict with Russia and other countries, and it's really escalating. The talks about UFOs and aliens are also escalating at the same time. There is a correlation there. And remember, something very similar to this happened in the 80s. When we had all this tension with Russia back in the 80s, well, at the same exact time, Reagan was giving multiple speeches about how if a common threat were to invade Earth from outer space, then all these countries that have this tension would band together, basically a one world government to fight off this common threat. Well, it's kind of happening again. Something like Project Bluebeam was supposed to happen in the 80s, but it was delayed. Kind of like Operation Northwoods, where the United States government was going to blame Cuba for attacking the United States, and we were going to invade Cuba. This was back in the 60s. JFK did not want to do that, so it was delayed. It was delayed all the way to 2001, where a certain country or countries was blamed on attacking the United States, and well, we invaded those countries. And I honestly do see how all this tension, this conflict, this major conflict that's currently brewing between the United States and Russia will end. It'll end with a supposed alien invasion.
In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war?
Stay up and look up.
Good morning. My name is Carol Rosen. In 1974, after being a sixth grade school teacher, I was introduced to the late Dr. Werner von Braun in the U.S., the father of rocketry. In my first meeting with him during that first 3.5 hours, he said to me, "Carol, you will stop the weaponization of space." And I said, teachers don't stop until June. He said, "No, you have to understand, this is February, and we have to prevent the weaponization of space because there is a lie being told to everyone that the weaponization of space is now first being based upon the evil empire, the Russians. There are many enemies," he said, "against whom we're going to build this space-based weapon system, the first of whom was the Russians, which was existing at that time. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be third world countries. Now we call them rogue nations or nations of concern. Then there would be asteroids." And then he would repeat to me over and over, "And the last card, the last card, the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat." Well, at the time, I kind of laughed when he said asteroids, and when he said extraterrestrials, I knew I wasn't going to deal with that subject.
You know what I mean? And he had learned all that information that York was putting out, and all the information that I know, you know what I mean? Jay-Z was learning that also. So he knows what time it is, you know what I mean? He's chosen a side, you know what I mean? And the side that he chose is money, power, and, he doesn't really care to spread any type of information that might help save somebody's soul.
What's the science? What's today's mathematics?
Yeah. By the way, this isn't even my chain. I stole it from somebody. Yeah, I'll tell y'all who got off camera.
Uh-oh.
Stealing chains now?
Yeah.
World star?
Not really stealing.
Does it mean anything to you, though?
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm with you. I don't like the conversation either. I call myself the God because I feel like it sometimes. I study a little lessons, but I'm not into all,
Yeah. Religion is like a personal computer, you let people in if you want to.
But in Long Island, they had the gods and the earths, like the 5% nation, the Nation of Islam. It's not the same thing, but affiliated in a way. It always was intriguing to me because they was out there hustling and doing their thing, but at the same time, they had a lot of...
No more trips to the gas station or corner store to buy a Powerball ticket. Now you can kick back on your couch, click on the phone. ABC's Kana Whitworth here.
This is from the teachings of Aleister Crowley. This is from the Book of Magic, Liber, which is a Latin word for book, ABA, Book 4. Okay? He says here, and again, it's not about rap or rock, because the artists are those who have more influence over what the people think than any other type of teacher or leader in some cases. So here, again, so they said the lema is, do what you want to do, just don't hurt nobody. Poppycock. First of all, they tell you that killing an animal within the circle or the triangle, as the case may be, so that the energy cannot escape, is one way to get power. But then Crowley elaborates and says that's lightweight jamming though. I'm paraphrasing. The words on your screen. If you can't see I can't see the words, then you can see the video and look it up yourself. It's at 9 minutes and 47 seconds. Those magicians who object to the use of blood have endeavored to replace it with incense. Do you hear what's in a book that your boy, a jigger what? A jigger who? It's now time that we dive into a subject often dismissed or ridiculed: the connections, accusations, and implications surrounding figures such as, most recently, Jay-Z, specifically his ties to figures like Dr. Malachi Z. York and Aleister Crowley, and the broader world of occult influence and entertainment. To many, this may seem like an exercise in conspiracy theories. Put on your tinfoil hat, ha ha ha. Yet when patterns emerge and threads weave together consistently, it is not wisdom, but willful ignorance to ignore them. Jay-Z's career is undeniably remarkable, but let us examine a particular lineage. His rap mentor, Jaz-O, was pivotal in shaping his early career. Jaz-O, in turn, was associated with Dr. Malachi Z. York, a figure who, while celebrated by some for his teachings, has a far darker legacy. Dr. York's Nubian Nation was mired in scandal and accusations, including allegations of trafficking and occult practices, and even connections to organizations like the Temple of Set, founded by Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino, a known Satanist who had trafficking allegations of his own during the Presidio cover-up. Aquino's involvement with the occult through the Temple of Set and his military career raises red flags about how deeply intertwined such ideologies may be with systems of power, much like people doubt how entwined and intertwined Satanism and Freemasonry are. But the GOAT is the common connection and the thread that you can use to connect them both. The GOAT, the Knights Templar, Baphomet. Now let us bring this closer to Jay-Z himself. Much has been made of the infamous photograph of him wearing a hoodie emblazoned with the phrase, "Do what thou